let's just kind of get started really quickly.
Mhm.
Oh wait, one more person coming in here. Okay. So this is our 12-part series. Can you believe that it's almost been a year, Cortland,
I
because we
know.
started this in about October of last
hmm
year,
hmm
and then we kept it going at the beginning of the year and twisted your arm and you
Oh,
said,
yeah, just
"Yep,
keep telling, just never
I'll
answer
do it for
me.
the year." Ooh,
Yeah.
hold on, we
Keep,
gotta mute people. All
hmm
right. And so this is our 12-part series. It's once a month. It's a huge opportunity. Every time I have an opportunity to hear from you, Cortland. I mean, we've known each other for probably 15 years now, and you blow me away. Like every time, there's always so much wisdom, in that grandpa, like always so much wisdom in everything that you share. And I so appreciate that you made this commitment at the beginning of the year. And I'm grateful for not just our friendship, but also your contribution to myself and then to the people that are in my world. So with that, handing it over to you, sir.
Thank you very much. It's good to see you and talk to you and catch up and so forth. And hey, everybody, how we doing? Thanks for being on. Thanks for that commitment that you make to yourself. Usually, I'm in the studio on the vibe board, but I was just sharing that well, one, I wanted to sit down today, and I was telling Rosie that one of the big shifts for me this summer is having my nephew here, who actually just walked in. He's on lunch break, so it's been quite interesting to watch his growth and so forth, but then also family wise. It's been a balance, is what I'll call it, right? So there's been loss, but there's also been additions too. We just had family reunion, so there's been loss, but there's also been additions. And so one of the things to consider is, how do you live your life in such a way that the inevitable is not regrettable, right? Inevitable that, if you live, you're going to die. Okay. Got it. Yeah. If you live, you're going to die. But how do you live a life that has it be, when you reach that point, that it's not regrettable? Okay. And part of this series and the identity work that we're doing is really related to that. Now, some of you, I've seen you each and every month that we've been on. If you've not been, I bet you we could find you a recording perhaps, so that you can catch up. I'm biased, but I do believe that the work that we're doing is quite valuable, and if applied, will indeed make a difference. And so today, we're going to start is with a little, how do I say, it's a little perhaps unorthodox, okay? Because I want to begin with something that may sound strange, okay, based on a lot of what we hear, so often. And it's simply this: I don't believe that you are stuck. I don't believe that you're stuck in your business. I don't believe that you're stuck in your relationships. I don't believe that you're stuck in, any of your health, goals or pursuits. I don't believe that people are stuck, even though that's a word that we hear a lot. I don't believe that you're lazy. Now, you've heard me say that one before. I personally don't believe that there are lazy people. I really don't. I don't believe that you are unmotivated. I don't believe that you don't, you know, I don't believe that you're not serious about your goals, your dreams. Even though that I don't believe, and I also don't believe that you're not disciplined or that you lack focus. Though these are things that we often hear describing why a person isn't seeing the movement that they desire to see in their business, with their health goals, in their relationships. Oftentimes, because we haven't landed on a definitive answer, we hear things like, well, I just need more focus. I need more discipline. I need more this. I need more that. But I don't believe that you're stuck. I don't believe that you're lazy. I don't believe that you're unmotivated and not disciplined. I do. In fact, I think it's the opposite. I think it's the opposite, based on some of the work and the research that I've been doing. I think that you are what I'll call brilliantly adapted. And I'm going to share a little bit more about what I mean here in just a moment. But understand that every habit that you have, every habit, every hesitation, every delay, every emotional reaction, it all makes perfect sense once you understand what you are protecting. Now, if you're new to the calls, this may seem a little kind of out there for a moment, but again, if you listen to the recordings, we'll bring it back. Brent, I know, has been here like each time. So, so as I promised, from month to month, it'll continue to build. So when I say, what are you protecting? What that's essentially talking about is the belief and belief structures that make up your identity. So today isn't about becoming more disciplined. It's an opportunity for you to become more honest. And I'm going to leave you with some homework to do, some journaling to do that is designed to linger a bit and to, stay on your mind. So if you kind of feel, if you feel that, okay, it's just know that it's by design. So the question is, we're going to spend the next 45 minutes or so exploring this. The question is, what am I protecting by staying the same? That's the question that you have for yourself. What is staying the same protecting? What am I protecting by staying the same? Notice I did not ask what's wrong with you. I didn't ask, why can't you stay motivated? I didn't ask, any of that. I didn't ask, why aren't you taking this seriously? A more important question is, what are you protecting? Because protection itself is very intelligent, okay? When people think about, or when people think that they need change, they usually attack what? They attack their behavior. I need to do something different. I need to start, waking up earlier. I need to, prospect more. I need to, stay consistent. Usually when people think of change, they're thinking in terms of some behavior that needs to be, modified, okay? Or it's like, okay, if I'm going to change my life, then I've got to attack the behavior side, all right? So, I need to make more calls. I need to stop procrastinating or what have you. But behavior is actually the last domino in a chain of dominoes. Well, I guess there's the outcome, but before you get to the outcome, there's the behavior. But there's a lot that happens before you actually get to the behavior. Okay? So behavior, I want you to see behavior as being that last domino, and there are other dominoes before that. Because behind every behavior, there's what we'll call a strategy, right? And that strategy is protecting a belief or an identity. Okay? And so behind every strategy is something valuable the mind is trying to preserve. Okay? So it's like, for example, person might say, well, it's like you don't avoid prospecting. Okay? You don't avoid prospecting because you hate prospecting. Right? You avoid prospecting because prospecting creates the possibility of rejection. Does that make sense? Like if you knew that every time you went to prospect or every prospect would lead to, if it was guaranteed to lead to, a closed deal, how much would you then love prospecting? Okay. So it's not that a person avoids prospecting for prospecting itself, but prospecting introduces a possibility of rejection. And so if rejection feels dangerous, then avoiding prospecting is logical. Does that make sense? It's like, well, okay, if it's going to lead to this outcome where I feel, disappointed or rejected or, dismissed or diminished or whatever, if that's a possibility, then naturally my nervous system will look to avoid it. Okay. A person says, well, I don't like social media. I just don't like social media. Well, if we explore that more deeply, it's not that, a person avoids social media uh, as much as they're looking to avoid exposure. Why would a person look to avoid exposure? Well, because, if social media is where exposure happens, then now I'm being seen. And if I don't feel or believe that I am worthy of or deserving of being seen, or if part of my protector or survival instinct is, to stay out of the way. Perhaps growing up, the idea of staying out of the way, playing it safe, be careful, right? All of those things led to one hiding. So now social media can produces exposure, and if I feel threatened, if or my nervous system feels threatened by the potentiality of exposure, then I'll avoid it. But it's not social media itself. It's not prospecting. Okay. People say, well, I fear success. No, you don't fear success. Okay. You may fear what success will ask of you. Is that making sense? Okay. So it's not that you fear being wildly successful. You don't fear like tapping into your potential. You don't fear being a person who lives a fulfilling and meaningful life, right? That's not what you're fearing. But there is an understanding that success and greater success brings more responsibility, or being able to maintain it, to sustain it. And so now it's, well, what is success asking of you? So a moment ago when I asked you, what are you protecting by staying the same? Okay, if you look at any area of your life where you want to take on a new habit, a new discipline, a new behavior, and you're finding it difficult or challenging to be consistent in it, then rather than beat yourself up and criticizing yourself for not doing it, be willing to explore, okay, well, what then does staying the same keep, what does or how does staying the same, what is it protecting you from, right? How is it safer? There's a lady, her name is Virginia Satir. She's like in my Mount Rushmore in personal development, right? The Mount Rushmore personal development, people who really are like the backbone or the spine of the industry. Virginia Satir, Satir, is how you spell her name. But she believed that every behavior was or is an attempt to meet a need. Every behavior is an attempt to meet a need. So that doesn't mean that every behavior is effective, okay? But every behavior is trying. All right, so I'll say that again. It's not that every behavior is effective, but every behavior is trying. Okay, so I'll ask you, what if procrastination isn't your problem? All right, I told you, I said we're going to go a little unorthodox today. Okay, kind of switch it up a little bit, right? But so often you hear people, man, but what if procrastination isn't your problem? What if procrastination was like your bodyguard,
Damn.
right? Procrastination as your bodyguard.
Procrastination is your bodyguard.
Mm-hmm. So, you know what I mean? So it's like, okay, then you could ask yourself, okay, well, procrastination, then what are you protecting me from? Okay, so just let that land for a moment, because I know so many people want to get rid of their procrastination. I'm saying, rather than look to get rid of it, let's explore what it's protecting. And then you won't have resentment towards the fact that you procrastinate. Whatever the behavior is that you're looking to get yourself to do, rather than be critical of yourself for not doing it, let's explore what it's protecting so that you have a deeper understanding that this behavior is actually trying. Okay, it may not, if it continues, it may not get you what you say you want, right? That's a different conversation because we don't get to move from any place that we don't honor. You don't get to graduate, you don't get to move or transcend to the next level until you honor where you are. So in essence, you don't have to, but the opportunity is for you to stop beating yourself up for the things that you don't do and counting yourself as wrong for not doing it or less than because you don't do it, you don't do what someone else does, and be willing to explore the questions. So if procrastination was your bodyguard and you ask, okay, well, what is it protecting? Then if procrastination could speak, it might say, well, I'm protecting you from embarrassment. I'm protecting you from failing publicly. If the procrastination behavior could speak, it might say, well, I'm protecting you from discovering that you're not as good as people think. I'm protecting you from disappointing your family, you know. Just notice what happened, right? By understanding that it's actually protecting you from something, then the enemy, quote unquote, becomes more understandable. So if you're procrastinating because deep down there's a belief that you won't excel. If you're procrastinating because there's a more predominant belief that you won't be good enough, that your best won't be good enough, then now procrastination is protecting you from humiliation and embarrassment, or so it thinks. Is this making sense? Up and down is yes, side to side is no. Okay, all right. So when we talk, Virginia Satir, so her view was that every behavior, okay, has a purpose. Even the behaviors that we don't want to be doing, it has a purpose because it's trying to protect an identity that is already in place. Okay. We often treat ourselves as though only like one voice exists, right? But we treat ourselves like there's only one voice, but in reality, there's so many different parts and so many different layers to you. Okay, from all of your life experiences, from early days up to today, there's so many, components, so many aspects, so many interpretations that have come from life experiences. And so rather than just there just being one, there are many parts. Okay. So if we were to like set up like like two chairs. Okay. Imagine that in this room where I am, where you are, we set up two chairs. They're facing each other. And one chair says, go build a business. The other says, don't you dare go build a business. Have you lost your mind? You know how hard that is. Okay. One is saying, go build it. Another is saying, you better not. Now, the thing to understand is that neither is wrong. One wants expansion. One wants protection. Okay. Some of you have experienced this. That part of you that knows what to do, but doesn't go do it. It's like you have these two competing voices. One is saying grow, expand, become, be, live the life, have the lifestyle, whatever, fall in love, open your heart, be trusting, all the things. And another is like, no, we're going to stay where we are because this is familiar, this is comfortable, this is safer. That thing you're talking about is dangerous. So the conflict isn't because you're weak, okay? It's because both voices believe, actually, that they're helping. It's not that you're weak. It's not that you are undisciplined. It is not that you're broken. It is not that there's something wrong with you. It is not that some people have a special gift mentally in their mindset that you don't have. That is not the case. You just have these conflicting voices. Okay? You have these conflicting voices. And so if you're able to, obviously if you're driving, don't do this, but if you're stationary and you can write, I want you to finish this sentence. Okay, I'm gonna give you some sentences, and I want you to finish the sentence. All right. Um, Sentence number one. I want you to finish this statement. Right. Finish this statement. The part of me that wants more says. Okay. The part of me that wants more says. And I'm gonna set a timer and give you like a minute to write. Part of me that wants more says. Okay. Now the second statement, the part of me that resists says. The part of me that resists says. The part of me that resists says.
Well, I'm ready.
I'm coming.
Okay. All right, so one sentence or one statement, the part of me that wants more, and the other, the part of me that resists. Now, don't edit it. Okay, you're just writing. And when you look back at what you have, you likely know which one or which part usually wins. Okay, so for you, this is just for you. Which part usually wins? Is it the part that wants more or the part that resists? And if for you, it's the part that resists that wins more often, what is the resisting part afraid would happen if it lost? What does the resisting part fear would happen if it lost? I really like that, and that's one of those lingering questions that my hope will continue post today's call. The mind is not one voice; it's a family of voices. Okay, and there are ambitious parts of you, there are confident parts of you. There are also these protective parts, critical parts. There are these people-pleasing parts of you. There are the perfectionist parts of you. And every one of these parts, and there are many of them, okay, the people-pleasing, the approval, the critical, the confident, like all of these different parts of you, all of these different aspects of you really think that they're helping. Okay? So instead of asking, how do I get rid of this part? That's the mistake that I see people make. And frankly, I taught it for many years. I used to view it as the key or the secret is to get rid of these ways of thinking or to get rid of this part. Then I'll be ready. Or get rid of this and then you'll be ready, client or, coachee, right? But I have a different viewpoint of that today because each one of these parts believes that they're helping. So instead of asking, like, how do I get rid of the part? Ask, What is this part trying to protect me from? Right? That's another question to write down and review. So any part of you that you look at, and like I have there's a part of me that avoids, right? And sometimes I'm like waiting till the last minute to do things. Okay. Now Rosie has never experienced this of me. Okay. But I'm just, I'm revealing this. This is even news to Rosie at this point.
You're
Okay.
kidding me. I never know. Like, that's not you.
So
Never.
it's like I will wait till the last minute or I will avoid. Okay. So there are times when I'm like, man, I wish I wasn't that way. Okay. So you can take any part, any aspect of your life and look at it and say, okay, if there's a part of your life or something about you that you wish wasn't there, that would be an example of a part. Okay. So I wish I didn't do this, or I wish I didn't, have this, or maybe I wish it didn't look this way, whatever it is. Okay. You look at it and say, so rather than getting rid of it, the question is, what is it trying to protect me from? It opens up an entirely new world, an entirely new world. So, for example, the perfectionist might protect you from humiliation. So therefore, everything has to be perfect. I got to get all my ducks in a row. I got to make sure to dot my I's, cross my T's, because if I don't, I'm going to get embarrassed or I'll be humiliated. And so therefore, I want things to be perfect, not because I believe that perfection is actually, attainable, but if I work to make it perfect, I save myself from being humiliated. Or like the people pleaser. The people pleaser protects belonging. So if I please, okay, so as the people pleaser, then I get to stay a part of the group. I get to keep my friends. I don't get shunned. I still, as long as I'm a people pleaser, I get a place to belong. Does that make sense? Okay. So the people pleaser protects belonging. The workaholic is protecting worth. So that workaholic it's like no matter how much success they attain, it's always like they're on overdrive. Go, 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 right? The workaholic is actually protecting a sense of worth because their worth is tied to performance and the work that they do. Not right or wrong. Okay, we're just insights into what I mean when we say, well, what's being protected? Okay, the avoider, right? As I mentioned, that one's for me, right? So the avoider is protecting disappointment. Like, what if I don't measure up? What if I'm not as good as you think I am? What if I fail? What if I don't deliver? Okay? So now the avoidance isn't just about avoidance. Avoidance is protecting that feeling of being a disappointment. The controller, some people are very controlling, like it's their way, like the controller is protecting uncertainty, right? When you really study controllers don't like uncertainty, all right? Because by definition, right, we can't control when things are uncertain, okay? So those are just like some examples, but none of these parts are like villains. They're not bad. They're not like sinful. They think that they're helping. And it's like they're these exhausted employees who never got new instructions. They were put in place based on an interpretation from a life experience whereby they were absolutely necessary. Absolutely necessary. Otherwise, it wouldn't have come up. Okay. So another question that you might explore then is like, what age does your protector or these parts, what age do they think you are? Like, the avoidance in me may think that I'm still, 7, 8 years old, not wanting to disappoint my mom. The people pleaser might be 6 years old, right? Uh, these parts, it's like once they get an assignment to protect, they don't actually grow with us. This is very important. It's very important. They don't age with us. They get their assignment at a particular time from an event or experience, and that's where they stay. They like park right there because, and so to say it differently, the protectors are oftentimes operating from old information. That's why a moment ago when I said, well, it's protecting you from this and protecting you from that and protecting you from this, and you might, well, wait a minute, consciously, I don't even think that. But your more predominant beliefs, okay, right, that's still your operating system. That's still the identity that's being protected. And so it's running off of old information. So, it's 2026, but, your protector might still think it's 1996 or 1986. The idea? Okay. So it might still believe that you're powerless from an event or experience that happened. And in that event or during that experience, you felt powerless or helpless, or there was nothing that you could do. So the protector part of you is still thinking that you're powerless, even though it's been decades ago. Okay. It might still think that one rejection defines your value, but you're no longer living in a world, okay, all right, where rejection has that same meaning or significance. But these parts of you don't know that. Okay, so you're no longer living in a world that your protector remembers or has even been exposed to. So when I said like they really do think that they're helping, right? We don't want to get rid of them because they're helpers, but they're helpers for old information that you're looking to, essentially transform. Okay, so
Carlin, we've
mhm,
got we've got we've got a couple questions here in the
okay, what
chat,
we got?
and then I want to kind of recap a little bit because
I just be going. I know. What
no,
you got?
no, like it's so good, but just thinking
Keep
about
going.
just thinking about when you have a situation, right? Like let's just say you got to make calls or whatnot, and like
Hmm.
I'm gonna do it later, or you just don't want to do it, and you're avoiding discomfort, right?
Hmm.
Why, you know, why are you uncomfortable doing that? Oh, I'm not really a cold caller. I prefer to do, face to face. That's like my
Hmm.
thing.
Hmm.
Um, the work gets deeper and deeper is my point of what I'm gonna say. Like stopping and identifying, like wake up, like you're not unconscious, like be conscious, be present, be aware, and saying, okay, I don't want to do this thing, or
Hmm.
you're reacting and saying, I don't like that, whatever it is. And then taking a moment to kind of step back because those triggers are there to make you aware
Hmm.
of, what's going on, and then take it deeper to the question. And the questions being in this case, you shared with us what's the part of me that is resisting this
Hmm.
example, right?
Hmm.
And then
Hmm.
what's the part of me that says, yes, go for it? Um, what's interesting in what you shared there is that we know that we will do a heck of a lot more to avoid pain, right, than
Hmm.
pleasure. So, for example, I make calls, there's a possibility that I'll get, one or two people interested,
Hmm.
maybe. And
Hmm.
there's also a possibility that 98 other people are going to reject me. And so I'm going to, operate from avoiding pain,
Correct.
right?
Hmm.
And so then you go a deeper, another level. and you're like, okay, well, what is it about that is hard? Well, it's rejection.
Hmm.
And then, man, I remember being in class and, always like raising my hand, and then the teacher would shoot me down, or never pick on me.
Hmm.
And so, that's such a wound, at age, at fifth grade or whatnot,
Yep.
that is still running in the background, right?
Correct.
And
Hmm.
then taking that into a deeper level and saying, okay, well, is that true today, right? Do I
Hmm.
have evidence to show that, I'm not that little rejected kid, or have I achieved some successes, and like really walking yourself through, through this growth uh,
Hmm.
is interesting. And then your personalities that you point out, I love that. I see little tiny little avatar emotions like that movie, right? The little movie
Uh-huh.
where like you have your sad person and all that good stuff.
Uh-huh.
But I love the idea that you're personifying like the little person that is like afraid of not being liked, or trying to be worthy, or it's your ego trying to look good, like all those what we call programs, the work
Hmm.
that we've done.
Hmm.
uh, but being able to identify, okay, well, where's this feeling of worthiness come from, or why is it that like I need to be in control, like the controller? That would be me, right?
Hmm.
Like I've been told that,
Hmm.
I can be a little bit controlling. However, that comes from, and I can have a different relationship with that entire personality, my little controller person, because
Hmm.
that controller comes from the fact that like my early childhood was chaotic. And so I
Yes.
needed to kind of be in control. My parents passed and all that, and like so many things were changing, and I needed to put my feet on the ground, and that has served in life. However, recognizing that my little controller Rosie, in situations where things are out of control, does not need to have all the fireworks going and the fire, alarm on, and like just rah, can come back and say, okay, what's the reason that I feel like I need to be in control in this moment? Oh, I know, because being out of control makes me nervous, makes me feel
Hmm.
unsafe.
Bingo.
And then, am I unsafe right now? Is this safe? What, the last thing, ask yourself the question, what would happen if this goes in a different direction?
Hmm.
What if the outcome is not what I'm trying to control, like what I'm trying to make happen? What if it goes in a different route?
Hmm.
And then the ultimate question, well, did you die?
But did you die?
But did you die? Like, will you survive? And then what are the benefits of, both? If it goes this way, great, blah, blah, blah. If it goes in the other way, what are the benefits of, or, what are the wins, or the lessons that can be attained, in both directions, so that from the controller side, that would make me feel safe. That would
Hmm.
make me feel like, okay, there are a number of different outcomes, and if, this outcome doesn't work out like it's supposed to for me, um, will I survive?
Hmm.
And will there be a learning there? And okay, then just like let go. So I don't know. That was just a little example and some takeaways. And somebody said something here. It was Moises. I think he said, well, what about annoyance? What if you're annoyed by something?
Hmm.
Like, okay,
Hmm.
well, I think that's perfect, because if you're just saying, I don't want to do that because I'm annoyed, I'm like, oh, it bothers me. Well,
Hmm.
there's a question. Okay, well, what is it about that is annoying you? Like, who does it remind you of? What is the, you share, what do you think about that comment?
No, it's first of all great examples, right? So like you said, for you things were chaotic. Well, one of the things we know is that the controller part of us is really looking for certainty. So certainty leads to safety, or is a feeling of safety to our nervous system. So as we've been building over, over the last several months, as we've been building, right? It's your nervous system's job is to make sure that you are safe. It fuels off of familiarity and comfort. So your nervous system, in order, you must feel safe enough. Okay. It doesn't mean that there's 100% safety. Okay. It just means that you have to feel safe enough. All right. And so when things are chaotic to your controller part, then that means danger. That's a threat, imminent danger. Your life could be lost. All of these things can happen because your protector part is still operating from information from so long ago. Moises says, annoyance. Annoyance is a protector part, right? So when I'm annoyed by something, I don't have to lean in. So the annoyance is a protector of like discovery, okay, or finding out some information that might be, diminishing. So think about a time in your life perhaps where you went all in, and the closer you got to it, the more you uncovered things that you didn't really want to know. Anybody ever done that before? Like the closer you got to it, the more you wish you hadn't even asked the question. It's like I would have been better off not knowing. Okay, so now the annoyed, okay, the annoyance is protecting you from, in essence, letdown. It's a protector part from being let down, from being disappointed. And so there again, it's operating though from old information. And I have for over 20 years, I have tried to get people to a place of getting rid of these parts rather than embracing the parts, welcoming the parts, and understanding that these parts or aspects of us are actually messengers, and they're looking to reveal something for us. Okay, so rather than getting rid of it, it's more about embracing it. Okay, all right, what you got? I see a hand up. Yep, what you got?
No, yeah, I wanted to hear your take on that because I mean, not annoyance to me, like, I feel like my annoyance comes from others
Like,
at performing at a certain level, right? Like I feel like I've been an athlete, I work
mhm,
out, I do a lot of things at the highest level, right?
mhm,
It's always just like when I'm surrounded by people who I know or feel are not going 100%. So I love the word that you gave right now, which is discovery, right? And
mhm.
I'm definitely in that place where it's like, okay, what is this teaching me, about me, about
Oh, you're
really
annoyed
looking.
by other people.
Yes, when they're
Mhm,
not performing, or I know, right? So it's almost like, hey, I mean, you should know this, or I already taught you how to do this. Like, it's like I take all the proper steps. I've coached for a long time as well, and it's like you take all the proper steps, and you're like, okay, what's missing, right? So I love the word discovery,
mhm.
right? And I also like the word that you said, maybe let down or disappointment, right? Because I know sometimes that will lead you to being let down or disappointed. But I love the word discovery because it allows me to identify maybe areas of opportunity in my systems, in my processes,
There
in
you
my
go.
in my training developing, in my right,
Try,
an
try,
opportunity of growth. Yeah.
So look, so I would invite this, perspective as well, Moises. Is like if as a person who's a high performer, right? And you say, well, I've excelled in, training, business, workout, sports, right? So one of the things that leaders are often faced with is the feeling of like you can see potential in a person, but they don't see it in themselves yet. Have you had this experience? Like you see it in them, but they don't see it. And so if you've excelled in various areas and you recognize that they're not, your view, they're not getting it or they're not seeing it, the annoyance could also be a way for you to not take on the fact that, okay, I'm not excelling at getting the best out of them. And you take their, slowness or whatever, or it may be that you're taking their lack of success personal because, well, they're supposed to be winning if they're working with me. So now, as a leader, you're looking at what or how you're. So the annoyance is a way for you not to closely examine that you take it personal that they're not excelling. Okay, is a potential exploration point. Make sense?
Yeah, yeah. I like the word more like maybe I'm not. As you're speaking, I'm like, am I inspiring enough change, right? Am I inspiring enough to get the best of them? Yeah.
You take it personal
Yeah.
that they're not winning. So rather than look at that on you, you become annoyed with them. It's still a protector part. It's still a
Hmm.
protector part on your side that is protecting you from the feeling of letdown. It's the same.
Yeah.
So we want to embrace those parts.
Yeah.
Okay, we want to embrace it. All right.
I mean,
So,
yeah.
yeah, go ahead.
No, I say I do share with people when I say, hey guys, sometimes I do get annoyed, but it's because I'm looking for the best out of for all of us, right? It's almost like I'm open with it too, you know?
Yeah, it's a which is also a protector part because now it protects approval. Now, if you have an outburst or you get upset or whatever, it's like, hey guys, I told you that I get like this, but really it's just me wanting the best for us. But actually, it's still your protector part that is protecting belonging and acceptance, and so that you don't get exiled or rejected. So it's subtle, but it's still there. Make sense? All right. So it is. So it's like before we close out, the I think you got the overall point of what we're looking at. Today is how is your protector part, right, covering or keeping your identity intact, where in essence you're staying the same, not because you're lazy, not because you're not serious or undisciplined, but because the sameness is familiar to your nervous system. Okay. And it's about, so understand that these parts, okay, they became in order for you to survive. They are your survival mechanism. Okay. And what was once adaptive, what was once necessary in order, the belonging, the approval, the people pleasing, the controller, whatever it was, at a point in your life, it was necessary to your survival. And because it was necessary for your survival, then the idea is not to shun it or criticize it or look to get rid of it. Okay. So the question isn't like, who am I? The question is, who would I be without this strategy of people pleasing, of perfectionism, of avoidance, of controlling? Who would I be without that? Okay. And so where we, in the time that we have, because I do have a call at the top of the hour, right? Here's some questions to kind of get your thinking along these terms. Number one, what am I protecting by staying the same? That's an overarching theme, and I would ask that you approach it not from a place of having the right answer, but just allowing it to linger. What am I protecting by staying the same? What evidence suggests that I no longer need that protection? That's kind of what Rosie was going into a moment ago. So, okay, if I know the controller and it has served me, but is it still true today? So, what evidence suggests that you no longer need that protection? Okay. And then another question, what would be possible? I'll take my time on this one because I want you to write this one down. What would be possible if I trusted today's reality more than yesterday's survival strategy? What would be possible if I trusted today's reality more than yesterday's survival strategy? Okay. You all know this much better than I. Much better than I do. You know this, that like real estate doesn't pay the smartest agent. It rewards the agent who can remain present, after disappointment. It rewards the agent who can hear no without making it mean something about who they are. It rewards the agent who can risk visibility, who can tolerate uncertainty. Okay. It rewards the person who's not the person that's the smartest, but the person who can continue to love people after hearing, not today. So the greatest breakthrough in your business may not come from learning a better script, right? It may come from realizing that the person interrupting your growth isn't an enemy. It's a protector. And so rather than look to get rid of it, thank it, listen to it, but most importantly, update it. Have it understand that it's been operating from old information. And then, let it retire. Because, the life that you're trying to build, that life does not require destruction of the parts that protected you. The life that you're trying to build does not require you destroying all of these parts that have served to protect you from, be it disappointment, humiliation, whatever. Okay? It just requires that those parts discover that they are no longer carrying today's responsibilities with a map from last year or, yesterday. Okay? And so that's really the work of becoming. And when I say becoming, it's not becoming someone else, right? But becoming a person that your protectors trust enough to follow. They're there to serve you. They don't remove themselves because you criticize them or you're looking to get rid of them. Okay? But if you will, how do I say it? Embrace them. Honor the role that they've played. Honor the role that they continue to play. And through honoring, you get to elevate. But you'll never leave the place that you don't honor. Because wherever it is, be it a relationship, geographic location, business-wise, income, level, until you appreciate the lessons and the experience of being where you are, you don't get to move to what's next. And too often, we're looking to leave where we are without honoring where we've been. And that's a major reason that you feel stuck, but you're not stuck as much as your parts are protecting you from what it believes might be disappointment or humiliation. Does that make sense? All right. I hope.
Love it, Cortland, always. And we are at the top of the hour. I know you have another call. I hope you guys wrote down the questions. That is your homework until next month. I think in all of this, one thing that we didn't share is just that it does require an incredible level of a brutal amount of honesty with yourself, right? And saying, this is where I am and why. Why am I avoiding? Why am I asking? Why, what is this? And just be honest with yourself. Nobody's judging you but you. And, you can get past that. So thank you, Cortland.
Thank you.
We have so much love in here. If you guys remember, next month, we do it once a month. It's enough
First
work
Tuesday every
to
month.
practice. Yes.
All right.
Yeah.
Thank you all
Thank
so
you so
much.
much.
I'm going to run.
Right. Thank you.
Be good to yourself. Good to see you, Claudia. All right.
Take
Bye-bye.
care.
Thank you,
Bye.
Cortland.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Rosie.
Guys.
Thank you,
See you
Rosie.
next month.